going to talk about part 2 of chapter 1, the nature of values. By the end of this video, you'll have the opportunity to reflect on the kinds of things that you value. You'll learn what a normative claim is and how to know if a claim is normative. You'll learn the difference between a value claim, a prescriptive claim, and a descriptive claim. And you'll also learn about an account of what's going on when people disagree that's helpful for making sense of disagreement. So, the nature of values. What kinds of things are really important to you? Friendship? Love? Family? Faith? Health? Happiness? The things that are most important to you are called values. We can think of them as the things that you value. Our choices attempt to represent what's most important to us. So what this means is that the things that we choose to do follow from the things that we find important. Now, values are normative. This means that they belong to some standard or norm that allows them to be used for evaluation. To say that a road is no good appeals to the standard about what a road should be like, and this is a normative claim. You see, so to say that a road isn't good is appealing to what a good road is. So for example, if you live in Pendleton, where I live, the roads are bad. Well, what standard could we use to measure what a good road is? Well, when I drive around in Hermiston, where I often teach, the roads there are much better. You see, so compared to the roads in Hermiston, the roads in Pendleton are not very good. Similarly, if I say that Veromi is honest, I'm saying that she measures up to a high standard of truth-telling. So I'm using a standard of what an honest person is, and I'm saying that Veromi measures up to this standard. If a doctor says that you have a poor heart, the doctor is comparing your heart to a normal functioning heart. So, a poor heart means that your heart does not function normally. Each of these value claims refer to some kind of standard, and it evaluates things according to this standard. We normally act according to our values, but if something is genuinely valuable, then presumably we ought to act to promote this value. So, genuine values support and explain what we should do. The idea here is that if you find something to actually be valuable, then your action should be such as to bring about that thing that you find valuable. So, if health is genuinely important in itself, then you ought to do what preserves and improves your health. Okay? If living a sedentary life is bad for you, then you should exercise. In fact, you may have a responsibility to exercise, following from the general importance of health itself. If friendship is a genuine good, then you should cultivate relationships by being friendly towards others, sharing interests, and spending time with your friends. So, we can see that values call for actions. Namely, values call for actions that bring about the things that you value. There are two kinds of normative claims: prescriptive claims and value claims. Prescriptive claims include words like should and ought. They prescribe or prohibit specific things. People shouldn't lie, for example, is prohibiting lying. You ought to attend that lecture is telling you something that you ought to do, something that you should do. Here's another example of a prescriptive claim. You should not drive on this road. So we see that prescriptive claims involve ought or should. This is an easy way to identify a prescriptive claim. It's telling you what you should or shouldn't do. Value claims, on the other hand, include modifiers like good, bad, or other value-type words. They claim to identify a value of an object or action. This introduction to ethics class is amazing, is making a claim about the value of this class, a claim that I agree with. Dr. Nash's singing voice is bad, is making a claim about the lack of value of my singing voice, which I assure you is true. Here's two more value claims. This road is bad, or my computer is very good. So what these claims are doing is placing value on the object of the sentence, right? So in the very first example, this introduction to ethics class has the value of is amazing attached to it. In the case of the road, the idea of bad is attached to it, and so on. Notice that both prescriptive claims and value claims, because they're normative claims, involve some kind of measure or ideal to establish the claim. So in the case of my computer being very good, there is a scale of goodness in computers that I can compare my computer to figure out if it's good or not good. Value claims and prescriptive claims need to be carefully distinguished from descriptive claims. Descriptive claims assert something about how the world is, not how it should be. This is important because the way things are is not always the way that they should be. Descriptive claims don't appeal to any standard, and they don't evaluate. They simply describe. So, for example, Jeff is 6 feet tall. This just describes Jeff as being 6 feet tall. I used to hate broccoli. This is just describing feelings towards broccoli. Over 1 billion people will remain in desperate poverty this coming year. This is just a description of the world we live in. Okay. Now, to make a point about disagreement, I'm going to move on to a story about Bill. This story is in the beginning of our book. At the store where you work, you notice Bill, one of the employees, stealing small amounts of money from the cash register. Bill is always lots of fun. Your job would be pretty unpleasant without him. He's also a friend. In fact, he helped you get the job. But the store manager, having recently noticed cash shortages now for several days, has threatened that no one will get an end-of-month bonus if the shortage continues. Should you report Bill to the manager? So what I want you to do is think to yourself for a few minutes about what you would do in this situation where your friend Bill, the person who got you the job you have now and is really fun at work, you notice is stealing small amounts of money from the cash register. Now, students respond to this story in a variety of ways. Some number of students say that they would just turn Bill in immediately because stealing is wrong. Another answer that often comes up is that people say, because Bill is your good friend and friendship is really important, maybe you should go talk to Bill first and tell him that if he doesn't stop stealing, you're going to have to turn him in. Now, notice that when people disagree, as presumably some of you in this class disagree about what we should do in the case of Bill stealing money from your job, it may seem that people disagree because they have different values. So in the example I just gave, some people value not stealing, whereas other people value friendship. But notice, in fact, most people tend to share most of their values. So in the case where you value not stealing, it doesn't mean that you don't also value friendship. Most people value not stealing and also value friendship. So what's going on? Well, it turns out that where people differ is in the importance that they assign to each of their values. So in the case where you think that you shouldn't turn Bill in immediately because you value friendship, and your classmate thinks that you should turn Bill in immediately because stealing is bad, it isn't that you have different values. It's just that you assign different importance to each of these values. Okay, so some questions you should be able to answer after this video. What do you value? And why do you value these things? What's a normative claim? And how do we know when a claim is normative? What's the difference between a value claim, a prescriptive claim, and a descriptive claim? And give an example of each. Explain the account that was given about what's going on when people disagree. What do you think of this account?